Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Casey Landis and I'm a full-time artist. And today we're going to be doing a lot of painting. This video is 98% art making. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to chat a little bit about the whole artistic process and what I was thinking while making this painting, and also how I'm kind of rediscovering my artistic style by trying to completely change it. I think it's a fun video. I hope you enjoy. Leave a comment below letting me know what you're doing. Are you painting with me? Are you cleaning your house? Am I keeping you company? Yeah. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoy. When I started this painting, I was leaving a few months of experimentation in my studio. I'm typically a floral painter, and over winter, I've realized every year now, I end up not wanting to paint florals. Call me crazy, but I guess the cold and lack of color and hardly any flowers in sight just isn't inspiring for a floral painter. So I decided to paint figures, and I decided that I wanted to change everything about the way that I paint while I painted these figures. So instead of working in thick layers of oil paint, I whipped out my acrylics and started working in thin layers and simple shapes, and really just doing the opposite of what I would normally do for a painting. And I was having so much fun. So when spring came and inevitably I'm inspired by florals again, I decided to take that same process and apply it to my floral paintings. I've used acrylic a lot in the past, but it's never been my favorite medium, and I think it's because I've always tried to use it the way I use oil paint, which doesn't really make sense because they are so different. But this time going into it, I decided to let the medium be what it is and use the fast drying time to my advantage, use a lot of layering and thin washes of paint to make those simple shapes that I was looking for. And it's become a process that I really, really like and I'm really enjoying. But speaking of that fast dry time, that is one of the hard parts about working with acrylic, especially being a parent to a toddler. Because when you're called away, your palette doesn't stay wet, it immediately starts drying, and then you come back and try to paint some more and it's all dry. You have to start over. But I recently came across an artist named Colby Sanford who uses a limited palette and keeps all of the different colors in tiny containers so that when he's called away, you can just, pop the tops back on, you're good to go. When you have a few minutes, come back and reuse them instead of having to lay the paint directly out on your palette. You just go directly into these tubes and use your palette to mix the colors from there. And that was groundbreaking for me. I tried to stay wet palette in the past, which is fine, but for some reason this method had such a low barrier to entry that it made acrylics seem possible. And it made it seem like I could work it into my daily life, even if I only have a few minutes to come in the studio and paint one leaf, which is amazing. So that was a total game changer. And it has so many benefits because since I'm putting them in these tiny containers, I also am limiting my palette, which is such a fun limitation to put on the creative process, because instead of having every color in the world to work with and being able to mix, whatever you see, you have to adapt. Maybe your paints can't make this super saturated color that's in your reference photo. So what are you going to make to replace that? It ends up putting this whole filter on the painting that makes everything really cohesive, and it's just a really fun, creative problem to solve. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of it. But also working with a limited palette is really beneficial because when I am called away and I need to come back and I need to mix this exact same color I was just working with, I remember how to do it so much faster because there just aren't as many options. So it's been really beneficial for my practice to work this way, and I think in the future I'm going to continue doing this and maybe swapping out my palettes for different collections. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I am really enjoying the results I'm getting by using that limited palette. So as I was painting, I'm thinking I changed my technique, I've changed the medium, I even changed the surface I was working on. This painting is on a wood panel, which I've used a lot in the past and liked, but typically I do work on canvas. So kind of everything about this is different, except for, I came back to florals. And it feels so exciting in my head because I'm thinking that this is going to look so different, like I'm onto something, right? But as I'm filling in each piece and stepping back and looking at this painting, I realize that while it is very different, there's something that is uniquely me about this painting. And that's really cool to realize, because that's honestly been kind of a point of discomfort for me when I do try new things, whether it's the subject or the medium, is that this is totally different. My audience is going to be so confused, and no one is going to recognize this as a painting that I made. But this piece is kind of connecting all of those dots for me. Whether I'm working in oil or acrylic or painting flowers or painting figures, there is a unique perspective from me as an artist in the way my hand moves and the way I plan a composition that is a Casey Landis painting. It's not something I've ever realized before, and it kind of gave me this new sense of confidence, because finding your style as an artist is really hard. And this painting has made me realize that my style has kind of always been there. And I think this is kind of the epitome of that advice we always hear when, you're just starting out and you say, how do I find my art style? And we hear the answer, you just have to make a lot of art. I think it's really true. It's kind of frustrating to hear because it's not something that you can just do and see an immediate result. But it's really accurate. I think you have to make a lot of work, and you have to experiment and play and put limitations on yourself so that you have something to problem solve. See what works and what doesn't, and then you can step back after you've made so much work and see this common thread weaving through everything. And that is your style. It doesn't have to be painting the same thing over and over again. It doesn't have to be using the same colors over and over again. I think you'll develop your perspective as an artist the more you make and the more you allow yourself to play. So while this piece is really different, I can look up close and see that my usual texture in an oil painting, it's not there. It's different. It's brushy and washy layers of thin paint, and my colors are different, but they still ring true to paintings I've done in the past. They reference some of my other work, and it was totally unintentional, but I'm enjoying seeing that come through, and I'm excited to see how that continues to come through as I make more paintings, because I have been really inspired by magnolias. I feel like I usually do one magnolia painting a year at least, but it's been a really long time since I've done an entire collection, and I think this is the year for it. I actually have a trip planned coming up soon to go back to my hometown and get a ton of references for this collection. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Magnolias have always been really special for me. They hold a lot of memories, and I think they do for a lot of you too, because I always seem to get stories whenever I paint a new piece. So it feels really exciting to be doing an entire series based on that again, and I'm feeling really inspired to do that and really inspired to make more work. This is going to be kind of an ongoing series, and so I'm going to release each painting as it's finished. This is just the first part of that, so if you want to get a closer look at the painting, all of the really nice details and stuff, it's listed on my website currently, and I am also listing the print, which I don't usually do. The original and the print are both available, so if you want to see either of those, take a look at the link in the description. And if you're curious about any of the art supplies I used in this video, I will also link that in the description. I hope you enjoyed watching this painting. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe so that you can see the rest of this collection come to life. Thanks for hanging out in the studio with me today. I'll see you next time.